You've called yourself lazy more times than you can count. Maybe it's the piled up laundry, or your unread Bible, or your unused gym shoes, or your unstarted to-do list. Whatever is staring back at you, you cringe and you say, "I'm just so lazy." You don't want to feel this way. You want to get up earlier and work out. You want to meal prep so you're eating healthier. You want to finally start the thing that you keep talking about, signing up for the course, budgeting better, researching the side hustle, whatever it is. But every time you decide to give it a go, something freezes up inside of you. Instead of doing the thing you say you want to do, you scroll or you find some busy work to do while you tell yourself, "I'll get to it later. I just can't face it now." And then when later comes, you're too drained, you're too overwhelmed, or you're too disappointed in yourself to give it a shot like you told yourself you would. So you stick the word lazy on yourself, assuming that it explains everything. But does it? What if laziness isn't the problem at all? Let's talk about what's actually going on that you might be missing. Welcome to the Confident Christian Woman podcast, where we tackle questions about things that have been keeping you stuck in unfulfillment, dissatisfaction, or straight up misery. This is where you'll find the help you need to move forward from confusion, fear, or self-doubt into joy, fulfillment, and peace. This is where we become confident Christian women who not only believe, we obey. Now, let's dive in. Our question today is, how can I break out of feeling lazy and find the motivation to take action? So if you're feeling lazy, what's really going on underneath that label? What is that label hiding? Well, I will tell you up front that we are not going to talk about setting up a morning routine or an evening routine or any of that other stuff that the gurus of the world will throw at you. Instead, you need to understand the story that you've been telling yourself that's keeping you stuck in the inaction that you are calling laziness. And it's making laziness feel safer than movement. First of all, please know that lazy is not a personality trait. It is simply a habit that you have gotten into, and you have believed the lie that is just how you are. It's a lie from the pit of hell. You're not lazy. You're not lazy. You are simply in the habit of choosing laziness. So let's dig deep into what might actually be happening under what you have been calling lazy. First is the fear of failing, or maybe even failing again. You have tried before to change habits, to set boundaries, to start the exercise program, to sign up for the class, to rebuild your prayer life, but it just didn't stick. So now you cringe at the thought of even trying again. You tell yourself, "I'm so lazy." But what you really mean is, "I cannot face the disappointment of failing myself again." Second, you are having some identity confusion. When you believe this "I'm lazy" refrain that is playing in your head, that identity becomes a filter, that label becomes a filter. And did you know that it is easier to prove yourself right, even with a label that you don't want to have? It's easier to prove yourself right than to challenge a story that you already believe about yourself. Did you know that? We all do it. Watch yourself, observe yourself, and you'll see that it's true. We all do it. We behave in ways to prove that how we see ourselves is right, even if it's a way that we don't like. We behave in ways to prove that that's actually how we are. So you act in ways to confirm your story of being lazy, and then you tell yourself, see, I told you, I'm just lazy. Third is emotional exhaustion. And this is not true for all of us, but it could be for you. So this is why I'm bringing it up, okay? Maybe what you're experiencing is not laziness, maybe it's depletion. If you have just been through a rough season or a season that really took it out of you, it might simply be that you just have nothing left right now to give. Your gas tank is empty, but you are shaming yourself by telling yourself that you should drive anyway. Empty tank, but you're telling yourself you should be able to drive anyway. So what looks like laziness might actually just be depleted energy resources that you have not taken the time to refill. Fourth is a disconnected purpose, and I think this can apply generally. You say that you want to get motivated, but motivation rarely appears if you don't know your why. If your why is unclear or cloudy, motivation is not going to pop up like some kind of magic thing. Without a clear link between what you're doing and who you want to become or why you're doing it, inertia feels easier. So you choose inaction and you dismiss it as laziness. But really, what it is, you don't have a strong why for doing it. Fifth, and maybe a little less frequent, but I want to say it anyway, this is another one I want to say, just in case it applies to you, is hidden resentment. Maybe you're carrying around in your head a list of things you, quote unquote, should be doing right now. That word should. Let me, before I continue and finish unpacking this one, let me tell you something. See that word should? When you hear it or when you speak it out of your mouth, have practice to have a red alert going off in your mind. That word should means that you have some standard or some manual by which you think you or someone else ought to be operating that may not be true. It may be, you may want to keep it, but it may be some assumption you're making that is not true. So that word should is a big signal that you need to examine what it is that you think should be happening. You should as a clue, like a clue, be a detective and use should as a clue to go investigate what's going on behind that word. All right. So let's get back to this one about hidden resentment. You might be carrying around a list in your head of things that you should be doing. And I use that word loosely, but you get what I'm saying. But how many of those things were actually chosen by you? Sometimes what you're calling laziness is your way of actually doing a silent protest where you're saying, without actually realizing it, that you're just tired of living by other people's expectations. So that may be what's going on for you with this label of laziness that you have stuck on yourself. Let's take it to the Bible, as we always do. Our inerrant word around which we base our lives, right? Let's look at Elijah in 1 Kings 19. After a massive victory on Mount Carmel, Elijah just collapses in exhaustion under a tree. And in verse 4 of 1 Kings 19, we read Elijah saying, I have had enough. He's saying this to the Lord. Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors who have already died. Elijah wasn't lazy, but he was just burnt out and he was running on empty. And what did God do in response to Elijah? He didn't scold him and he didn't hand him a to-do list and tell him, get up, get back to work. He let Elijah sleep. Then he sent Elijah food. Then he had a perspective shifting conversation with Elijah. God did not demand action as a first step. First thing he did was restore Elijah's identity and his strength. So maybe your quote unquote laziness is a warning light that is saying to you, I need rest. Or maybe it is saying, as I think is probably the case for most of you who are listening, maybe it is saying, I need an identity reset in order to move forward. Quick pause. If today's episode is hitting home, I have something for you that you'll love. It's called the Clarity Roadmap, and it's a free guide that's designed to give you a quick jump start out of feeling stuck. Remember, you don't have to have all the answers. You only need your one next step, and this free roadmap is a great place to start. You can grab it for free right now at the link in the show notes. Okay, back to today's episode. So, as we always do, let's reframe our question of how do I stop being lazy and find motivation into more useful questions that will help you to get to the truth behind what you see as your laziness and help you to start questioning the identity that you're choosing for yourself. Guys, a lot of our issues that we face and a lot of our struggles that we are dealing with are so rooted in identity. A lot of times we don't know who we are, or we have chosen an identity that is not ours. And a lot of our struggles emanate out of that. And so some of these questions I'm about to put to you, for you to put to yourself, will help you with that. So here we go. I have quite a few for you. So settle in. Oh, excuse me. When did I first start believing that lazy was who I am? What was happening in my life at the time? What if that label was never accurate but simply convenient? Where in my life am I pouring out without getting refilled? What am I protecting myself from by not taking action? What part of me feels safe by avoiding these things? And that's like, that is not a rhetorical question, right? Sometimes we ask these questions and we'll take it as, yeah, it's true. I shouldn't be protecting myself from anything. I would just dismiss it. But answer the question. Answer it. Because you're doing this for a reason. There is always a reason behind what we're doing. And if you do not answer the question, you will not get to the reason. And if you don't root out the reason, you will not be able to change the direction in which you're going. You may be able to change it for a minute, but you will not be able to change it fundamentally and for good. All right, continue with the questions. What do I keep calling responsibility that I actually resent and therefore avoid and then call myself lazy? Why do I want to do the thing that I keep choosing laziness in place of? And continue to ask why until you get to the real reason, which is usually an emotional need that you want to have filled, right? So ask yourself why. Why is it that I am not filling out this form, registering for this course that I say I want to do? Oh, it feels so, it seems like a lot. Why does it seem like a lot? And when you get that answer, ask why and continue to ask why until you get to the truth. And normally, in most cases, you'll find some emotional need there that you are wanting to fill, okay? All right, next. I told you we had quite a few questions today. Let's keep going. Not too many more to go. How may my lack of motivation be trying to show me where I'm out of alignment with God's plan or His heart for me? Don't use this one as an excuse, okay? To say that, oh, well, yeah, okay, I'm really lacking in motivations because I'm out of alignment with God's will. Like, really look into it and see. I am lacking in motivation for doing the thing that I say I want to do. Is it possible that it's showing me that I'm out of alignment with God's plan? It may be, and maybe it could be, and maybe it's not, right? Maybe it's something else, but you need to question it to see if there is something there. Continuing. What kind of woman am I becoming through the things that I don't do? What kind of woman do I want to become instead? And then finally, I'm going to give you now a variation on that question that's equally as helpful for you to see things from a different perspective. So here it is. What story about myself am I proving every time I avoid action? And what story do I want to prove instead? All of these many questions that I've just given you, you cannot say you have a shortage of questions to contemplate this week and to answer. But all of them, oh, sorry, frog in my throat. I'm sorry. All of these questions will open doors for you, but only if you answer them. And when you walk through those doors, you will start to free yourself to change your identity and start acting out of that new identity instead of chasing and never catching motivation, right? And if you want to take this conversation to God and like go deep with him, here's a prayer prompt for you to get started. Lord, please show me the truth beneath the label of lazy that I have been hiding behind. What have I been afraid to face? Why have I been afraid to face it? And what do you see in me that I don't yet see in myself? Sit with those before the Lord and hear, be quiet and hear what he says to you in response. So now our action move, our action step for this week, I'm calling it our truth alignment. And here's how to do it. We're going to do it in about 5 steps, all right? First, choose one area where you keep calling yourself lazy. Just one. For example, spending consistent time with God, or having that difficult conversation that you have been avoiding, or taking care of your body, like exercising or getting a checkup or resting, or managing your finances instead of ignoring them, or completing some project that you have been putting off for ages. Just choose one area. That's all. Just one. That's the first step. Second step is ask yourself, what is the real truth behind my inaction here? What's the real truth? Is there fear, resentment, exhaustion, disinterest, confusion? What is lurking? Something else is what is lurking behind this, my inaction? What is my inaction trying to tell me? We find it so easy to stop at what is happening on the surface. Oh, I'm lazy, and you stop there. But what is it trying to show you? It is trying to point you to something happening underneath. Listen to it and take the invitation to go deeper. So that's what step 2 is about. Step 3 is to write one truth that counters the lie that is driving this, what you are calling laziness. For example, it's not that I'm lazy about praying. It's that I'm scared to hope again. Because when you pray, you put yourself in a position of hope. So maybe it is that I'm afraid to hope. It's not that I'm lazy about getting in front of God and praying. It's that I'm afraid to hope. Right? So replace it with the truth. Tell yourself the truth. And then ask God, what is one small step of obedience that you want from me in this area? Or what is one small step of my identity in Christ that you want from me in this area? And finally, take that one small step this week to start aligning with the person that you want to be and that God has called you to be. And one more little nugget for you. Motivation, you're looking for motivation to push you out of being lazy. But motivation follows identity. And identity changes when you collect repeated, visible evidence that contradicts your I'm lazy story. So use that last step that I gave you to start creating evidence that does not require some unrealistic, heroic effort for you to do the thing you've been saying you want to do. Okay? All right. Laziness is usually the name that we give to self-protection. We usually, when you are when you have slapped a label of lazy on yourself, you're protecting yourself from something. But calling out what it really is, whether it's fear or resentment or depletion or a missing why, you're missing purpose, or some misplaced identity, calling it out gives you the power to change your story. You do not have to wait to feel motivated. You can start by being honest with yourself about what's really going on behind your label of laziness. And do not stop there. The truth will set you free, but do not stop there. Just, okay, I see that I'm lazy because blah, 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 whatever is the truth. Don't stop there. Take a step to reclaim your identity in Christ. I'm pretty sure you're not lazy. Like you may swear up and down, and you may even put your hand on the Bible and say, Chris, I am lazy. I will say that I doubt it. I very much doubt that you're not. What you have right now is a golden opportunity to look deeper, to tell yourself the truth, and to let God start rebuilding your identity from the inside out. Thanks for spending time with me today. And hey, if you were listening along and thinking, I don't want to miss this kind of encouragement and inspiration every week, then now's the time to hit follow so you never miss an episode. I'll see you next week.